Testament from Oakland, California, was originally formed in 1983 as Legacy by guitarists and cousins Eric Peterson and Derek Ramirez. They'd be joined by drummer Louis Clemente, vocalist Steve Souza, and bassist Greg Christian, and start playing shows around the Bay Area. In late 1984, both Louis and Derek would leave and be replaced by drummer Mike Ronchette and guitarist Alex Skolnick. This lineup would record a demo early the following year called Demo 1.
Marching their way to the rooms of the dead, taking to the microman, killing our victims and taking the day. Hitler's flying at the right. The engines are roaring, the warheads are blast. The joy has tamed their fate. As each is amazing, marching to fight. Lutheran takes his wife.
The demo is already pretty freaking great. The production is a little thin, but not enough to be an issue, and this collection of 4 tracks provides plenty of aggressive energy, blistering riffs, and powerful choruses. The sheer technical skill of the band and their ability for constructing complex musical arrangements are also on full display here, and Steve fills the frontman role with plenty of attitude and hints at what would become his goblin-like delivery. However, Steve would leave Legacy in 1986, opting to join fellow San Francisco thrash band Exodus. But before leaving, Steve would suggest his own replacement, Chuck Billy. Chuck had been the vocalist for another local band called Guilt, with a far more straightforward commercial-facing metal sound. Their one and only officially released track, Down to the City, which sounds a lot like early Rat, can be found on Shrapnel's US Metal Volume 4 compilation. Mike Ronchette would also leave the band to be replaced by original drummer Louis Clemente, and due in part to the success of Metallica and the growing interest in thrash metal, this lineup would get quickly signed to Megaforce Records. But just before recording, they'd find out that another band owned the trademark for Legacy. Megaforce would reach out to some of their other heavy bands for new name ideas, including Stormtroopers of Death vocalist Billy Milano, who suggested Testament. With their new name and new singer in place, Testament would get to work recording their debut album, The Legacy, released in 1987. Widely considered one of the best thrash albums of all time, The Legacy is excellent from beginning to end, instantly putting Testament on the map with killer thrash riffs combined with masterful musicianship. But even beyond that, what really pushes this over the edge for me are the phenomenal solos, which often add a nice touch of melody to the structured chaos. Of course, Chuck Billy is a great fit with the music, easily handling both growls and screams.
We weren't sure what we wanted. It was a big blow to us losing our first singer. And you know, of course, he's doing great now. And that's great, but you know, I think we found our guy.
The legacy is so good that it's tough to pick song clips because they're all worthy of a shout out, including Raging Waters, which gives me just a hint of Running Wild vibes. But one track specifically worth noting is Do or Die, the only one with Chuck Billy credited for lyrics. The majority of songs on the Legacy were written when Steve Souza was in the band and features 3 of the 4 tracks from the demo, which Chuck also handles with no problem. But again, the guitar playing is absolutely top-notch, with outstanding riffs and solos throughout the album. The Legacy was overall very well received in the metal scene, and while Testament were still touring to support that debut album, it was suddenly time to record album number 2. We barely got done with our first couple of tours on that first album when we were informed we have to have another album soon. We got spooked in a way because we never had to come up with music on the fly. But ultimately, they'd appear to have no difficulty writing new songs for a follow-up, and they'd release The New Order in May of 1988.
Concept album. The New Order is like the end of the world, but a new beginning. New society, new set of laws. New kind of music. New kind of music. Yeah, we try not to be too political either. It can be fantasy or
something like a kid could pick up a record 40 years down the road, you know, and put it on and read the lyrics and go, whoa, I wonder what these guys were thinking a long time ago, you know?
And these guys were weird.
The New Order follows along in the same vein as The Legacy, with high-octane thrash numbers like Into the Pit.
For the insanity of dies to fall. The mass reduction and I'm killing them all into the pit. The future's kingdom of a fading away into the pit. The ones on my way down in the chain into the pit.
Although the New Order does break things up a bit more with two nice instrumentals, including Hypnosis, placed right in the middle of the album. But what really got Testament some mainstream attention in 1988 was the heavy rotation of music videos from the album, starting off with Trial by Fire.
Accuse you of a crime, sentenced to endless time. The price you have to pay won't get away. Sworn in honesty, direct to the system man. They think you are a liar. I trial by fire.
Of course, any self-respecting thrash video needs a suitably oppressive location. We got a prison cell in the first video, and this one is set in some dirty, abandoned warehouse.
This is what the people see. A new way, a telephone.
Trial by Fire is one of Testament's best tracks, with a fantastic riff and an awesome face-melting solo.
Videos help a lot. We met a lot of people in the States that never heard of us before the video, but now they like us.
People that don't really get into speed metal might see it and like it, you know, and it helps, you know.
We're gonna be doing another video
another one too.
to Nobody's Fault.
After releasing the original 12-inch LP of the New Order, which clocked in at a tight 35 minutes, Testament realized they were under contract for their albums to be at least 40 minutes long. In order to meet that requirement, they'd add the Aerosmith cover, Nobody's Fault, which also got a music video. This one is a little sillier, opening in the band's locker room before a show, where Eric is filming with a camcorder and being a general nuisance. Everyone is all fired up and ready to go on stage, except for Chuck, who's trying to take a nap.
Get out of here!
Come on, wake
Leave me alone!
Testament, you have 2 minutes till showtime.
Where's our guitars at? I'm not going on 2 minutes. Where's my guitars? Let's just do it. Let's go do it. We have to. Let's go. Chuck, wake up.
So while the other guys head out to start the concert, Chuck keeps on snoozing.
What else could this be? Everybody's screaming, running for the sea. Longing lands are sinking, bullets stick to the sky. The puppets are all stinging dry. I know the reason why. Eyes are full of desire, mind is soul at ease. Everything's a fire, shit bombed after the knee.
The video follows the band apparently trying to find the place they're supposed to perform that night, but it always seems to be the wrong spot. They eventually wind up at a seedy dive bar where a table of nerds are freaking out about the hot redheaded waitress. The show seems to be going okay, but then everything starts to fall apart during the solo. Even though there are only 4 people in the crowd, Chuck attempts a stage dive, which doesn't go well. I bet you can guess what happens next.
Chuck, wake up! Come on! Let's go. We gotta go on. Let's go. Let's rock the house.
Dude, man, that's a trippy extreme.
You are
Tripping, dude. Man, I tell ya.
But along with those music videos, Testament would also get their name out by opening for bands like Megadeth and making appearances at festivals like Monsters of Rock, with plans to record another album and get right back on the road.
We're gonna go home and write a good album. I mean, this, we've got crossover feelings from the new album, and I think majority of people like it, but the next album we're just gonna crush.
Yeah, like this record, The New Order, we didn't really get to tour a lot this year for The New Order. So the next record, we plan to be out for a long time.
And right on schedule, Testament would release their third album, Practice What You Preach, in late summer of 1989. Practice What You Preach is another very solid entry, and overall it maintains Testament's thrash foundation, but with a focus on being a bit more accessible.
So practice what you preach. Practice what you preach. Practice what you preach. Practice what you preach. Practice what you preach.
The hardest thing is getting some separation, between the sounds. In the past, their music tended to be real fast, and it's hard to make things, sound like music when it's just everything's going 200 miles an hour.
But still, the album is full of energy and aggression, with some heavy bass, pummeling drums, and more fantastic soloing.
Yeah, well, the band's just grown as a band itself, playing with each other over the years. And it really shows a lot on this record. The songs are a lot better, well-written songs, And we knew this record was a little change from our last record, but we enjoyed the songs on this record, so we're practicing what we preach, we're sticking with it, and we're really pushing this record.
I will say I don't think Practice What You Preach hits as hard as Testament's first 2 albums, with some slower tempos, but it's still very good. It does get comparisons to Metallica, which is fair to a degree, but I think Chuck sounds like Chuck here, and to me, Alex and Kirk Hammett are fairly different guitar players.
The time is coming. Oh, it's too soon, I can't quite tell. Oh, I don't know. I think my world has gone to hell. The time is coming. Life has been just like a wheel. Oh, I don't know. That's the way that it makes me feel.
But the more commercial approach did seem to work, with Practice What You Preach reaching the 77th spot on the Billboard charts. And of course, getting more music videos on MTV didn't hurt either.
The ones who say the rainforest falls away. No one to believe. This is the air we breathe. So the one we know is that slow in South America. Flee or put it down. All the
Greenhouse Effect is about the burning of the rainforests in South America. And if they continue to burn all the rainforests, then there's going to be no more air for anybody to breathe.
Scientists, whatever, they know what's going to happen, but yet they're still letting them get rid of the forest, and they know what's going to happen, but still, it's
not
happening.
Really up to scientists.
But if people know, everybody knows what's going to happen about it.
That affects everything.
Still, they still want to destroy it.
And they don't even care if they seal the planet's fate. Crimes they perpetrate, wasting precious land. It's time to take a stand.
They'd also make a shift lyrically on this album, moving away from occult themes in favor of more relatable topics, like an environmental message in Greenhouse Effect and relationships in the ballad.
I'm not one to say where my feelings are going when they wither away. Oh, I pray to see another day. My heart's feeling like a needle lost in the hay. Oh, straight to meet again.
It's kind of a lame title, but the track is definitely a standout, with a mellow opening to go along with black and white shots of a couple breaking up in a restaurant, before going into a harder thrash sound.
What's the fear? Fear no more. Show my conscience what fear's for. Now I know this is so real. What's done is done, so do as you will.
With Practice What You Preach, Testament had solidified a foothold in the mainstream market, and to capitalize on it, they got right back into the studio for their fourth album, Souls of Black.
Walk with me, my friend, to a darkened place, where you'll go down to the abyss. Caught between two worlds with no advocates. The legion's armies hold on to your faith.
I'm a big fan of Souls of Black, and it definitely returns to a harder style compared to Testament's previous album, but it was a bit rushed since they had to have the album out in order to go on a European tour with Slayer, Megadeth, and Suicidal Tendencies.
We had like 4 or 5 weeks to write this record and get into the studio and record it and put it out in time just to get this tour. It was a lot of pressure, but everybody knows that's we're always under pressure, whenever we write.
But along with the intense, aggressive riffs, this album is an outstanding showcase for Alex Skolnick's phenomenal solos, which elevate pretty much every track.
It's a lot more heavier back to our more metal roots, like our first stuff, but vocally it's progressed more singing than the thrasher stuff we were doing in the early days.
Testament would also continue focusing their lyrics on world events and topics that fit their heavier music.
I think it's hard to write happy radio-sounding lyrics to music that's this aggressive. And songs like The Greenhouse Effect and 7 Days in May, which is about the China incident last year, those topics fit the music. And it just wouldn't work to write something that sounds like the radio.
Aside from the general thrashiness, there's also a few other styles worked into Souls of Black as well, mostly showing up in Alex's guitar playing. Despite getting dangerously close to the influx of grunge music, Testament's appeal continued to grow, with Souls of Black reaching the 73rd spot on the Billboard chart, 4 spots higher than Practice What You Preach. This was again supported with a couple of music videos, including the title track. This video has another cool look, this time set in what appears to be a burning parking lot. It's a pretty fun, heavy track too, with a chugging riff, some heavy bass, and another Alex Skolnick solo that's also on fire.
We did that in LA, that video. It's like
looked like
practically
it.
burned down the whole street. The first take of that, there was like helicopters, you know, with spotlights. They thought the street was on fire.
The other track to get a video would be The Legacy, which starts off with a lighter opening similar to the ballad. And it's another one that really shows off Testament's intricate songwriting style, gradually shifting into a heavier direction as the song goes on. By this time, Alex had started getting interested in other styles of music outside of metal, which was definitely influencing his writing style in Testament, but it also led to him accepting other projects, like touring with bassist Stu Hamm in 1991. But it turned out that he had plenty of time to do so, since Testament took around 8 months to record their next album, the longest gap so far. It would also be their first album officially produced by Atlantic, who up until this point had only been their distributor with Megaforce Records producing. However, with the onset of grunge, Atlantic severed their relationship with Megaforce, although they retained the right to sign a number of bands directly, including Testament. So Testament's 5th album, The Ritual, would be produced and released by Atlantic in May of 1992.
Victims of tomorrow. The way it goes, it never shows. When deadness or sorrow. There is nothing left inside, nothing left to cry for. So I justify my crimes. This and I must die for.
unsurprisingly, The Ritual is a little grungier with a more straightforward direction, and it's pretty good overall, but also my least favorite of those initial 5 Testament releases. That said, it starts off with a banger of a track, Electric Crown. But again, a lot of this one takes a step back from the speedy technical stuff, and for me, it loses some of what made Testament's previous albums work so well.
I think the direction is more of a straight ahead, kind of a rock heavy sound, where it's not so much like 20 riffs in one song. It's more like one riff for the whole song, just kind of crunching away.
I think the whole thrash scene probably died like a couple years ago, you know, and I don't think we've went sold out commercial or anything. I think we're like somewhere in the middle of playing our thrash roots, but trying to make it, I guess, more enjoyable to play, memorable to play, I guess. The songs are a lot more memorable, putting more melody into the song. Whereas, you know, thrash, it was like, you know, it was fun. It's still fun to play the songs, you know, we still do that, but I think we kind of just matured out of that musically.
So it ends up feeling a bit mixed in my opinion, and some tracks on here just didn't grab me. But then there are also several that do, and I'd be lying if I said there weren't some decently catchy choruses throughout. But The Ritual was actually a minor success at the time, reaching the 55th spot on the Billboard chart, Testament's highest so far. And the album also included their only charting single, Return to Serenity. Although I prefer their faster stuff, Testament is also capable of knocking out some great slower songs too. And as usual, this is another highlight on the album and a good selection for a video. Unfortunately, both Alex and Louis would leave fairly quickly after the album was finished. While they can both be seen in the Electric Crown music video, they'd be gone by the time they shot this one.
Started off with Alex. We were on tour over in Europe, in the States. We got home from Europe, and Alex came up to us and told us that this would be the last tour and the last record he'd be doing with us. That you know, he was tired of fooling the kids, fooling himself, and fooling us, but he just wasn't into playing heavy metal anymore. And you know, he was pretty noble of him just to come, you know, on tour saying, "Look, you know, I'm giving you, you know, plenty of notice ahead of time." So we had a lot of time to really figure out what we're going to do. Louis, on the other hand, now is we started off a tour in LA somewhere. First show, Louis left after sound check with our publicist and never came back, and just kept driving, and I guess went and got married, and just the whole thing.
There's more to it than that. It's more of like he was just really sick of it, and instead of telling the band like Alex did, he just decided to leave and, you know, not say anything.
I guess he felt since Alex left that, you know, it wasn't Testament anymore.
They'd be replaced by ex-Forbidden members Glenn Alvalius on guitar and Paul Bostaff on drums for a live EP titled Return to the Apocalyptic City. However, they'd both be gone before recording another studio album, and it would be guitarist James Murphy and former Exodus drummer John Tempesta who'd appear on Testament's 1994 release, Low. As with many metal bands around this period, Testament had to shake things up, and Low sees the band going into a simpler, more groove-oriented direction that still maintains a thrash foundation.
The album Low, the feeling of it came because we did some tuning. We tuned down to D and C sharp, and I get a chance. That's more in my range of singing, so I get to really roar a lot more. So it's really aggressive, really strong vocals for me. It's like the most aggression I've got to let out on a record.
Overall, Low isn't bad considering when it came out, and I did like it a bit more than I expected, but it's also largely your typical mid-90s stuff. Alex is definitely missed, but James brings his own style of skillful guitar to the album and lays down some cool solos of his own.
James' input and John's input, I'm sure it's a whole new feeling, because me and Eric and Greg always had the direction we wanted to go, but you know, Alex and Lou didn't really want it, so now James just adding what he's going to add to Testament is what we're looking for.
They didn't have to dictate to us, you know, to me or to John when he was doing the drum tracks. You know, it's just what we were naturally doing fit in, and what they were doing felt natural to us. It worked out really good.
This album also sees Testament starting to incorporate some death metal elements into their music, heard in tracks like Dog-Faced Gods.
This was the song actually that they already had written before I joined. It was the first song that Eric sent to me on a demo tape after I talked to him on the phone and jammed on the phone for them. Eric sent me a 4-track demo tape of this song Dog-Faced Gods, and I was like, yes, this is the Testament that I want to, you know, that I've been wanting to hear for the last couple of albums.
By late 1996, Testament had been dropped by Atlantic, and everyone had left the band except for Eric and Chuck. but they decide to record another album, and in 1997, with original member Derek Ramirez back, this time on bass, and Dark Angel drummer Gene Hoglan, Testament would release their 7th album, Demonic. Demonic is pretty much agreed upon to be the weakest Testament album, and I heard nothing on it to make me disagree. It goes almost exclusively into a death metal direction, complete with harsh vocals from Chuck. I'm certainly not against death metal, but I just found very little to sink my teeth into here. And Eric is a great guitar player, but he's more of a riff guy than a technical shredder, so there aren't a lot of solos to point out either. Although they'd be joined on the subsequent tour by Glenn Alvalius. The Demonic lineup wouldn't last long though, and in 1998, Eric and Chuck would be joined once again by James Murphy, along with bassist Steve DiGiorgio and drummer Dave Lombardo, previously of Slayer, to record their 8th album, The Gathering. The Gathering overall is really good and brings back a more thrash-oriented feel, although a lot of Chuck's vocals are still in the death metal direction. But I gotta say, he's pretty good at it.
Songs that they put together, I mean, we really captured, Testament, and I feel that it's going to be very satisfying to the fans.
And it's also very heavy, that's one thing that people should really know about the New Testament material, is that it's extremely heavy. I mean, it's not death metal, but it's, it's very, very heavy, along the lines, and heavy in the way that, like, Pantera, Slayer, and Sepultura are heavy,
This is the ultimate Testament record for fans.
Everything
the fans have said to us.
Ultimate drummer, ultimate bass player. James has got some. He's playing really good on
really
solo
sick leads.
I mean,
the power of the rhythms and the drums with the vocals is just like,
it's gonna be really cool.
It's gonna be good.
It did take a couple of listens, but The Gathering really grew on me and includes some heavy melodic tracks. Dave Lombardo delivers some brutal drumming that fits the aggressive tone perfectly, as does Steve DiGiorgio on bass, and again, there are some very cool solos from James with his fluid playing style. However, James would have brain surgery shortly after the gathering and consequently has no memory of recording it. And speaking of health scares, Chuck would be diagnosed with cancer in 2001, although he'd make a full recovery. That same year, Testament would also put out First Strike Still Deadly, a collection of re-recorded tracks picked from The Legacy and The New Order. Along with mainstays Eric and Chuck, Steve DiGiorgio and John Tempesta would also return for this one, as well as Alex Skolnick, which is cool, but this release still feels largely skippable since the original tracks still exist and can't really be improved upon. Although, it is cool to hear an appearance by Steve Souza on 2 tracks from the Legacy demo. But it would be another 7 years after that before Testament would record a new studio album, which would eventually be 2008's The Formation of Damnation, released on Nuclear Blast. This one features the entire original 1987 lineup except with Paul Bostaff on drums. And it's another overall very solid Testament album with more of the thrash death approach they'd been developing.
For us to put out this record, it was long awaited. A lot of people have been waiting for a lot of years for it. Kind of had the hype coming up into it, and I think we delivered. We discussed what we wanted to write and bring to this record, and everything we spoke about and everything we wanted to accomplish, we did.
Plus, it's great having Alex back in the band with his technical guitar playing nicely complementing Eric's heavy, chunky riffs. Although, Eric also steps up his solo game around this time and starts laying down some pretty cool passages as well. Doesn't really push any boundaries or change things up too much, and I would still rank The Gathering a bit higher, but The Formation of Damnation definitely delivers the headbanging energy, aggressive tempos, and killer solos you'd expect from Testament. I would also say that while I find The Formation of Damnation easy to listen to and it sounds great, it still leans more into that 90s groove sound in my opinion, which isn't really my thing in general. But there are some hard-hitting riffs on this one, and others may find more they like on it than me. Testament's next album, on the other hand, Dark Roots of Earth, is way more up my alley. This one features Eric, Chuck, Alex, and Greg, and continues their revolving door of iconic thrash drummers, with Gene Hoglan returning. Dark Roots of the Earth again doesn't change the Testament approach much and maintains a modern feel, but this one has catchier melodies in my opinion, and the guitar tones just sound more 80s to me. And this album did remarkably well at the time too, debuting at the 12th spot on the Billboard chart, the highest ever for a Testament album.
It's pretty phenomenal, actually. We're really excited about it. It sounds funny to say pleasantly surprised, because you always hope people will like it, but it really seems to be crossing over in a way. I mean, it's our highest charting album on the Billboard charts. It debuted at number 12. That's what we're told. That's never happened. So it's just really exciting.
Again, it doesn't touch those 80s Testament albums, but this one has some real highlights for me, including Native Blood, another track touching on Chuck's Native American heritage.
Whenever I fall, whenever I'm pushed against the wall, this white man's world won't tell me what to do. Nowhere to run, my native blood. I wanna reach and touch the sun, blister in my soul, but I can feel.
This is one of my favorite Testament tracks, which shows a little of the album's diversity with a catchy, headbanging chorus and some cool blast beat drumming from Gene.
Stay out of my way. My voice will be heard. I'm alone. I won't be afraid. I got something to say. My voice will be heard. So loud, native blood.
And of course, you always get a creative, awesome solo from Alex to tie it all together. For me, there's just a nice variety on Dark Roots of Earth, showcasing a little more melody along with the crushing, brutal riffs they've been focusing on more in their later albums.
Fireborn, throne of thorns. God of war, no remorse. Fireborn. Listen to these words, to what I have said. My throne of thorns is where I shall rule. Keeper of all, bringer of death. To challenge me, off with your head.
Bassist Greg Christian would leave the band for good in 2014 and be replaced once again by Steve DiGiorgio for Testament's 12th album, Brotherhood of the Snake, in 2016.
I was awakened by the howling of the dog, or perhaps a wolf. Summoned by the voices who are shouting in my ear. The pale king comes from afar. Before the time, who will decide? I live to see 1,000 moons. I am weak, I am ill, I am all with the days for the kill.
I still think Dark Roots of Earth is better overall, but there's a lot to like on this one too, with some memorable riffs and choruses.
Falling from the skies, shaken from the prophecy as they control your mind. The pale king holds your fate.
At this point, there's definitely a Testament formula to their albums, with plenty of aggressive thrash riffage represented, as well as a more melodic side, and some groove and prog elements as well. But while there really isn't anything unexpected or groundbreaking here, you get pretty much exactly what you're looking for, with some great tracks like Stronghold.
Freedom of speech, freedom of life. Dance when you wanna do it, happens all the time. Doesn't matter what the people say. Doesn't matter to you. Doesn't matter what the people say.
And along with Stronghold being a standout track for me in general, it also has another face-melting solo. Testament's most recent album is 2020's Titans of Creation, still on Nuclear Blast Records.
In transhuman state, it's time to evacuate. Waiting for a ride to chase them to the gate. Await the siren call. Morphine or barbital. Pouring down the hatch and ingest it all.
I think Titans of Creation is fine overall. It's heavy, fast, and energetic, but there are also way fewer tracks that stood out to me here, and some felt longer than they needed to be. Like album opener, Children of the Next Level, about the Heaven's Gate cult and their mass suicide in the late 90s.
Freedom from this broken world, this mortal shell they leave. Ride up to the sky. Climb aboard and take a trip to your final destiny.
You can't really fault Testament for doing what they do best, which is hard-hitting thrash riffs, elaborate solos, and a range of powerful vocals from Chuck. Still, I think I just connected with the songwriting more on other albums.
Welcome to World War III. Everyone is gonna die. There is no escape. Your lungs turning black. No one can save you. It's Armageddon.
Titans of Creation also got the most music videos of any Testament album, with 3 total, including Curse of Osiris, which I'd consider the best of the group.
So pain in the pain. No deceiver shall remain. Soon his uncle will die. Horus has taken his throne.
It's got a badass blackened sound to it, and also another cool solo from Eric. Nuclear Blast has renewed Testament's contract for another 3 albums, and their 14th release has been in the works for a while now, with Dave Lombardo returning briefly, followed by drummer Chris Dovas. So another album should be coming anytime, but for now, that is Testament. One thing I've noticed while working on this video is that people's rankings for Testament albums are all over the place, so it's very likely that my list won't match up with many of yours. But if we're talking top-tier Testament, I think The Legacy from 1987, The New Order from 1988, Practice What You Preach from 1989, and Souls of Black from 1990 have to be on here. and I'd personally also include The Gathering from 1999 and Dark Roots of Earth from 2012. But I also don't want to discount other albums because Testament's discography overall is extremely solid. For extra credit, I'd also have to put on The Ritual from 1992, Low from 1994, The Formation of Damnation from 2008, and Brotherhood of the Snake from 2016. So those are my picks, but be sure to let me know yours in the comments. And of course, a big thanks to my Patreon subscribers and everyone who voted for Testament. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.
We'll catch you guys later, man. See ya. You guys kick ass here. What's next time?